take a look at the XR Builder gallery. The gallery is one of three major components of our XR Builder, and it can be found by selecting the XR Builder tab on the left-hand side of the platform navigation bar. Essentially, the gallery is an asset management tool. It's designed to help you manage all the different categories of assets that you're going to need in the production process in creating AR content experiences. So let's just do a quick overview of the interface and a couple of the things that will help you understand how it works to make you a power user. There are two different views. This view that you see here is the default setting. So when you open the gallery, you're going to see, number one, that the gallery item here is selected. And this tab menu here will allow me to change between the scene editor, the experience manager, and then back to the gallery. The default view is the ladder diagram, which is an iconic representation of the different assets that will allow you to manage in the system. So if I select immediately to the right of the icon view, I can select a list view. So sometimes you might want to use this view if you're looking for a specific file name. For now, we're going to go back to the icon view. I can also sort these assets by date, or I can sort by name. So that's kind of handy. If you're using a naming convention, for instance, then perhaps you might want to sometimes sort by name. I can also see files that are managed externally to the platform. So in the RealityBLU space, BLUairspace, you can actually manage assets that are on other networks that are perhaps internal networks that have exposure to the internet. So not everything from an asset standpoint has to be managed within our cloud, but for the most part, most people find it easier just to use our cloud solution to manage their assets. However, we do give you the flexibility to manage assets outside of our cloud. So we're going to go back to all files. This list is essentially a way to help you narrow your search in the builder or in the gallery view. The default setting is that everything that's in the account from the standpoint of an asset will come into the view. This list over here makes it easier for you to kind of specifically search for certain things. If I select marker, then I can see just the marker assets that are associated with this particular account. Okay. Another thing that I want to point out is for all the asset types with the exception of image, there's going to be a specific icon in the lower left-hand corner of the tile that you see here. And in this case, I'm looking at the marker view, and I'll spend a lot more time in other videos talking about markers. But as far as the gallery goes, one way to visually determine if something is a marker or not is by looking for these three stars. The system supports not only markers, and in our system, a marker is essentially just a JPEG file, and it's turned into a marker upon the upload process, and I'll show you that in a minute. If I turn off markers and I wanted to see images, images are another asset class that we support. And if you notice, there's no icon in the lower left-hand corner. So anything that doesn't have an icon in it, you can assume is either a JPEG file or a PNG file. And the system supports both transparent and non-transparent PNGs that can be used as elements in your experiences. The system also supports 3D objects. Now, when I search for 3D objects here, you're going to see this little icon in the lower left-hand corner of these images that will give you a visual reference to say, or a visual cue to tell you that this asset is a 3D object. And I can preview that element, and I can manipulate it by dragging my mouse across it to see it from all angles. So you can determine or see what the model looks like when it's placed into an experience. We can also support video, as I mentioned, so I'm just going to turn off the objects and the images so we just see videos. And in the system, you can see that the icon in the lower left-hand corner is a little video camera. There's that visual reference. Now, in the system, we can manage MP4 files, MP4 video, in two forms, in basic runtime standard frame size video format, or we can also support the use of what's known as an alpha channel or a green screen. So in this case, we can show video. Let's see if I can find one that's pretty good. This one looks pretty good.
Hello.
If I select that video, this person was actually shot on a green screen. So we can isolate the individual off the green screen, and then you can place that video asset into your experience, giving the illusion that the person is actually standing either on a vertical surface or on a horizontal surface in your experience. So that's a great technique to use in creating your content experiences. We also support audio files in the system. So an audio file could be just a voiceover, it could be a music bed, it could be some kind of a soundtrack or sound element that you want to add to your experience. And in this case here, I'm showing just the audio assets right here. So they don't have an icon either because there's no way to do an image preview for an audio asset. So this little music note here is an indication that it's an audio file. We also have a class of object or a class of content called button. And a button essentially is just either a PNG, a transparent PNG or a standard PNG or a JPEG that when uploaded into the system, it actually acquires attributes that make it clickable when added to a scene. So this little icon here in the left-hand corner is a little finger icon, and that designates the visual cue to tell you that the item is actually a button. Again, it's just in this case, it's just a PNG, a transparent PNG file. And I'll talk more about this in other videos where we talk about content creation or scene creation. We also have some pretty basic and standard social media icons that you can use. There's really nothing special about these items other than that they're the designated branded icons that you might be familiar with. There's another class of button which is known as a toggle, and I want to talk about toggles because toggles are essentially two states of the same button. So, and I'll talk about this again in in scene production. But this little icon designates that it's a toggle. You can see it's a little switch that goes back and forth, or an icon of a switch that goes back and forth. Toggles are really powerful tools in creating really media richness in your interactive experiences. So let's go back and take a look real quick at how we would actually upload items into the gallery. And that's all done within this view right here. If you look in the lower right-hand corner of the gallery, there's an Add Item button. And by activating this, we can designate specific elements that we want to have appear in the scene or in our gallery. So if I choose from a category type, I'm going to choose marker. Then I can browse on my hard drive or on my network drive to find that asset. So I'm going to just go to our Google Drive here and real quickly try to locate a file that I want to use as a marker, and I want to upload it. And that file, I'm looking for a file that has some fish in it. There we go, right there. So I've selected this item, and now I'm importing it into the upload manager. So what happens is, you can see the icon here, and when I hit the upload button, you're now going to see that image appear in the gallery, and then you're going to see right here, you're going to see a spinner. So what it's actually doing right now is it's actually creating a score. It's going to designate this either as a 1, 2, or 3 star marker. So there it is, a 3 star. And then if I select it, you're going to notice that there's no heat map button here. What's happening is, what we do is we allow for immediate placement of the marker into a scene upon upload, but in the background, the system is actually creating that heat map. And in a few minutes, if we came back to this file, you'd see that heat map would be available for us to look at. So that's pretty much it about on the gallery. If there are any questions, feel free to reach out to us. And we encourage you to look at other videos that we've created to help you along in your production process.